dimension beyond that which is known to man. A multiverse as vast as eternity, as timeless as the Infinity Gems. It is the middle ground between the big two and the indie publishers, between sci-fi and mysticism, and it lies between the pages of the reader's imagination. At the summit of entertainment, the dimension of comics, where a humble service is held. We call this service the Gospel of Comics.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. I am your host, The Church of Failure, and with me, as always, is my trusty co-host, Ayrton McCartney, who's probably laughing his ass off at me because I was not only muted locally, but I was muted in Skype and on OBS. I was triple muted tonight, ladies and gentlemen, just for you. Just for everyone in the chat right now.
That's got to be a Guinness World Record somewhere, right?
I mean, I think so, but, you know. Shortly, we will be joined by a special guest, Eric Weathers, to talk lettering. I've been looking forward to this chat for a little while. He'll be with us for about 30 to 45 minutes. But
that's going to be fun.
I do enjoy it. Arcanus in the chat. Hail, my fellow degenerates. Hello, my fellow young folk. Cartoon and Matt Christie. How's it going, guys? Appreciate everybody showing up. We'll also probably be looking at an indie comic that was just released, and I believe I'm pronouncing it correctly, Eudaimonia. It's a World War I comic that's written in prose. It's a very different take on traditional comics, and I'm actually really excited to look over it. We're not going to give away the general plot because I haven't read it enough to be proficient in the general plot, but
it's kind of a weird. It's a different way to like follow the story than most people are going to be used to.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's really kind of akin to like the Odyssey or Beowulf or some classic poetry literature.
Yeah,
but
oh yes, Matt Christie, everybody's got to hit that like button.
Absolutely. Like, subscribe, all that YouTube nonsense.
And Liefeld, we know you're going to hit that dislike button.
You got to hit the dislike button, but contact me about feet commissions, goddammit.
We know you need the money.
Well, we actually have a somewhat serious and professional, legitimate guest coming on, so let's not embarrass.
So we're going to get all. Yeah, we're going to get all of our inappropriateness out of the way, you know.
Maybe
at the nose end.
Maybe we could wait until the guest is gone before we go too much further.
I mean, I'll try.
Well, that's all we can ask.
Either way, I'm going to get fired. You
are, probably. As long as you don't ask him to read some weird copy pasta, I think we're okay.
I mean, I don't have anything prepared, but I could probably find something real quick.
I'm sure you could. I also had a few Christmas titles that I wanted to let the chat vote on and look at as far as some stuff they would want us to review in the coming weeks as we prepare for the Christmas season. Obviously, we're going to be looking at Lobo's Paramilitary Christmas Special. We're going to be looking at Hazel and Cha-Cha Save Christmas from the Umbrella Academy. But there are lots of other Christmas titles to choose from. There is Power Man and Iron Fist, Sweet Christmas Annual #1. What? Don't get quiet on me.
Oh, nothing. I'm looking at. I googled weird ass creepypastas.
God damn it! Why do I keep you around again?
I really have no idea.
Who are you? How did you get in this stream?
See, folks, this is why you should lock your doors.
And your stream keys. Well, other than that, how's everybody doing tonight? How you been doing today, buddy?
I was doing
close the window
I
on
started reading this fucking list of creepypastas. God damn.
Close the window on creepypasta before I say look at all those tabs.
I mean, I need to burn this into the chat's brain. The title of this is just a list of like the top 10 strangest ones that this person could find. It's called this is number 5, My Perfect Sister. I love my older sister. I really do. She has some issues, sure, but she's all I really have since Dad passed away a few months ago.
I'm just going to go ahead and kick you from the call now, if that's okay. I think.
I mean, I'm surprised.
One's in the chat. If I should just go ahead and get rid of Ayrton now, before our guest comes on. Your signal is pretty terrible, I will say.
Is it?
Yeah, you're a little robot-y right now.
What the fuck?
Well, we're back on Skype, so obviously the good run you had with Discord, it's not going to last.
Right.
I'm not Gator. I don't have a bot.
You know, if I wasn't so concerned about robots taking over the world, I would love to have like a little like R2-D2 type like cutesy robot that could like follow me around and like do shit that I don't feel like doing.
You mean like a
go
Roomba?
Get me a beer out of the fridge?
I was gonna say, you mean like a Roomba?
No, I mean maybe, but like a Roomba can't get me a beer out of the fridge.
I mean, if you install Doom on it, it can.
Oh, all right, Matt, you're gonna have to help me with that.
Wait, why is Eudaimonia already up on the screen? We're not there yet. Did I just leave that up? It's okay.
Probably. I mean, that cover is gorgeous.
It is. It's absolutely beautiful. And if you didn't back this book, then I feel sorry for you. Yes, that was the shot.
What else? Yeah, I know. What else do we have on the docket for the Christmas season coming up here?
Like I said, those are the only 2 books we have set in stone that I want to look at. But I figured we would put it up to the chat, maybe the Twitter audience, to vote on some other Christmas comics that maybe we should cover. There are plenty to choose from all ages to just weird as shit like Lobo's Christmas special.
Or if you guys have any suggestions that we haven't named, go ahead and put them in the show suggestions chat in the Discord there, and we'll take a look at them.
Yeah, well, I mean, our main audience isn't really a lot of comics goers, so you got to give them that kind of credit. But
yeah,
I figure if we posit some titles to them, then they might be interested in that. Such
That's
as
fair. Kind of weird.
What?
That our audience isn't really comic people.
Well, I mean, they're into 2 drunk guys on the internet, I guess.
Yeah. You know, everybody's got to have a shtick.
I mean, we don't have a baby, so. But yeah, we've already said Hazel and Cha-Cha Save Christmas.
Which is a wild book.
Yeah. Let's see. There's Archie Christmas Special. I don't think that one's going to go over too well. Although there is Superman's Christmas Adventure from 1940.
Ooh, that could be fun.
Yeah, that could be corny and fun. And then there's also Ben Templesmith, Wormwood Gentleman Corpse Christmas Special. The Wicked and the Divine Christmas Annual.
That might be my connection shit. It looks like a winter storm is about to start rolling through here soon.
Isn't that just your life? There's always a storm where you are.
Yeah, pretty much. That's why I have to keep a fucking rain suit in my saddlebag.
Christmas with the Superheroes number 1 and 2 from 1975 and 1989, respectively.
All right.
Larfreeze's Christmas special. Okay, that's one we're going to put on the list. Larfreeze's Christmas special. Larfreeze was the Orange Lantern.
Oh, okay. Is that how you say his name?
Larfreeze, yes.
I never actually knew how to say it. How do you spell that?
Larfreezz or Freeze.
Oh, okay.
Larfreeze.
Well, the accent.
Your connection is just garbage. I don't know why it's always so bad. Is your headset in okay?
I have this. I mean, it might be. Hold on. Is that any better?
I mean, kinda.
Kinda.
Probably not, but we'll see.
I wonder if I have to use this headset with Discord, but the other one was Skype.
I mean, you can
because
try
that would be my luck.
You can try it. You can just completely
while
switch.
I open this can.
Yeah, you can just completely switch headset and see how that goes for you.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. After I find my other one.
All right. This is fantastic entertainment. I'm so glad.
It really is.
Well, I mean, it's not a good stream if there's not tech issues, right?
Oh, of course. The gospel of tech issues.
I think I'd have to fire you for Matt Christie on that one.
Here it is. All right.
So we found the headset. 14 minutes in, and we found the headset, ladies and gentlemen. He's swapping them out now. There's some echo.
13 minutes since we've been live.
No, that's really no better.
I had to adjust the microphone. It was all bent out of shape.
Oh, that is actually better.
Okay, so I'll keep that in mind.
All right. Well then.
Dillard Draws, welcome to the show. We're getting our tech issues sorted out here. But
yeah. 15 minutes in, we're just bullshitting about Christmas comics and trying to get some tech issues sorted out. Ayrton sounds fine, says Matt Christie, which I'm guessing means I sound like garbage.
Or he's drunk.
I don't know.
Either way.
I don't know. Usually that's me, but I'm not there yet. We have a guest coming on.
I mean, he is Canadian.
Oh yeah, there goes your roboting again. Fantastic.
Jesus fuck.
Oh, I think we have a guest just popped in the Skype.
All right.
Eric Weathers, I can hop on now. Let me go ahead, buddy. Go ahead. The call is open. All right. So any minute now, we'll be joined by Mr. Eric Weathers, and we will talk lettering for the duration of the hour.
Hello there.
How's it going, man?
It's going.
So
how are you?
I've been better, but it cost more, as I like to say. But I did go through the effort. If you want to bring your camera up, we can get your gorgeous face up on screen, or we can do it more like a podcast, like we normally do. Either way.
Well, I looked at the camera and it's weird. It's blurring out my background and doing all sorts of weird stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we can
seems
rock it
about
like this
for our show.
Right.
Yeah.
If I'm not drunk, my computer is. So I mean, one of us has got to carry the weight, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I actually first came about you on the Sweetcast while you were talking with Von Klaus and Clint about the massive amount of lettering you've been doing for the past 6 months.
Yeah, past over a year now. So it's been a crazy wild ride for sure.
So, one thing that I wanted to start off with, and this is a question that I ask every guest we ever have on this show that has anything to do with comic books. What initially got you
Okay.
into the comic medium?
As a creator?
As a fan, a creator, as a little kid, as a grown man, your choice. Take the question how you will.
Okay. Sure. Honestly, it was just being a kid. I grew up in the 90s, and comics were everywhere. They were all over the place. My friends and I, we traded, Marvel trading cards, and ran home as fast as we could after school to catch the latest X-Men animated series and Batman animated series. And
Oh, yeah.
I sort of just grew up on that stuff, and got comics at the grocery store or wherever. I never really stepped foot into a comic book store until I was in high school. And by then, it's because comics weren't anywhere else. So,
Right.
But really, I sort of, found comics through the peripheral, so to speak. Through the extra stuff.
What were some
And
what were some titles?
had
that you read at
comics
that time?
growing up, and I always thought. I'm sorry?
Oh, what were some titles you were reading at that time?
The X-Men, definitely. I was collecting anything with X-Men in the title. I sort of kind of jumped right in when Jim Lee and Chris Claremont launched X-Men 1. That's that was sort of my introduction, I guess you could say, to comics. I mean, I'd had a few others beforehand. You get the break free don't smoke comic book in school, the Spider-Man and Power Man and
Oh, yeah.
Storm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I still have that. But yeah, it was the X-Men stuff.
Fantastic.
X-Men, Uncanny X-Men. Here and there, I'd get Spider-Man, but I was never a continuity guy. I just always looked at the artwork.
Well, that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand getting into comics nowadays, as opposed to, back in those days. When you read comics back then, you were just happy to have a pocket full of quarters and to go into the comic store and buy anything with your character on the cover. Whereas nowadays, you're like,
Absolutely.
no, I'm looking for Batman number 37. If you don't have 37, I'm going to have to go look somewhere else. Specifically, I'm looking for number 37.
Yeah, it's all about filling in the gaps now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Trying to fill in those gaps for sure.
Well, and I think that's where you kind of grow into it as well, because it was definitely one of my major accomplishments is filling out a full readable copy of ROM, Space Knight. I have a full run of the original ROM, and that was one of my crowning achievements of comic collecting, is that I was able to find every bit of that. So
nice.
But
nice. Yeah, I don't really have much of a.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't really have much of a collection of rarities that I go after. I've always just chased artists and just tracked down their collections, and it's not really as much of getting the right storyline or the filling in the numbers as much as it is just like I've got to get the next Jim Lee or Ryan Ottley or Greg Capullo or whatever, just to surround myself with that inspiration.
And I think maybe that's where we kind of go into the creator aspect of it, right? Because that
absolutely
that leads into the next question: how does trading back issues with your buddies at school lead to lettering some of the biggest indie comics of 2019?
That's a good question. It was never my intent to be a letterer. No, I wasn't 8 years old sitting in my room thinking, I want to letter these things. That'd be great. I have been making comics. I made comics when I was a kid. I've been working on my own series. I did Flying Fortress, which the campaign is over and we're actively fulfilling, which is why I don't have a lot of time here. I'm trying to get the books are still at the printer, but I'm trying to get all of the extras ready to go so that when the books get here, I just throw them right in the box and just ship them out, hopefully everything before Christmas. But, it was a pursuit of wanting to make comics, and it actually all ties into Flying Fortress, where that was my effort to figure out how to do this thing on my own, and I did it from ship to stern. I mean, the idea came together with a couple of friends and I, but I pulled the majority of the weight. We wrote it together, and there was early on in the series, myself and Andy Moore did the artwork. I would draw it, and he would ink like half the pages. I would ink the other half, and then I would color everything, and then I would letter everything. And through the process of these 9 issues over 7 or 8 years, it was you just learn everything. I mean, pencils, inks, letters, colors, how to put a book together for print, how to order, what to order, how to do a convention, all of that stuff happened through Flying Fortress.
Right.
And after that was done, I kind of was like, not necessarily done with comics, but I was taking a break. And I had a friend who who was hiring a letterer for a book they had called Frankennaut, and he just put a post on Facebook, say, we need a letterer. If you're interested, let me know, and I'll send you a page, and you can do a sample, and we'll pay for the sample and all that. And I ended up getting that gig, and that was probably 2 years ago now. And then a little over a year ago, probably a year and a half ago at this point, is when John Malin put the post out that they were looking for a letterer for a Graveyard Shift. And I had just done that one job for that book, and I thought I'll go for it. So I sent in a sample for that, and I mean that's sort of all she wrote,
right?
As far as that's concerned, that's John and Malin and Mark Polton sort of helped start my lettering career, and it's been fantastic.
Now, that's that's amazing as far as that goes. We do have a question in the chat for you. Starfire or Raven from Dillard Draws? I'm guessing.
I've answered this before.
Oh, go ahead.
I've answered this before. I have no preference.
No preference.
I honestly don't.
Also,
No
on an
preference.
unrelated note, how horrible is Starfire? Am I right? So I think the correct answer for him is Raven.
Okay, well, we'll go with that.
Okay, all right, Dillard. Raven is your
please the audience.
Raven is your answer. You should be happy now. But
there you go.
Now, you've what are some of the projects under the Indie Comics and Comicsgate after Graveyard Shift that you've had a hand in?
Where do I start? Jawbreakers.
At the beginning, preferably.
Yeah. Jawbreakers. I did. Ravage, Kill All Men. I'm currently lettering Brutus the Badass. I'm lettering all of the Allegiance books: Red Rooster, Futurist Norse Saga, Bass Reeves. Lettered Downcast, Monster MD. I'm going to be working on Shinobi Sasquatch and that crossover. I'm doing Graveyard Shift 2, all the supplemental stories within there, including U.S. Assassin. There are many, many more that I'm sure I'll remember in a few minutes. But it's hard to,
just a couple.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track sometimes.
No,
which is a good problem to have.
I could just be polluting the waters or whatever. But did you work with Doug TeNapel at all? Earthworm Jim?
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
Bigfoot
I
Bill?
lettered Earthworm Jim for sure.
Okay, yeah. That's
Earthworm Jim. Yeah, not Bigfoot Bill, but Earthworm Jim. Yeah.
Okay.
That was fun, actually. It was interesting because
go ahead.
He had me letter in Photoshop, and I'm not used to doing that. I can do it. It's fine. It's just all the balloons I had to do were hand drawn, and he has a specific font that is his own that I had to use. So it was very much like me trying to match his style from other books, and and I was working on a partial script, so I know that he's gone in there and punched up different dialogue, and I'm sure has probably changed a lot of what I had done. But it was a lot of fun to do that because I loved Earthworm Jim. So happy to be a part of that book.
I believe that's actually the next crowdfund I'm due to receive. So there'll be an unboxing video and a review of Earthworm Jim probably within the next week or two because I got my confirmation that it's shipping out today.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm still waiting on mine.
So, oh man. So you mean I might have it before a creator does? That's awesome.
You might. Yeah.
But no, I fell on you when you were talking about Monster MD specifically. The review that I did of that crowdfund for Von Klaus after we did that live stream. I believe Ayrton and I both backed that. You backed Flying Fortress, right?
Yeah,
Ayrton?
super excited. Oh yeah,
So,
super excited for that one.
Oh, good.
So that's just some
Good to hear.
Right, and that's when I found out about that, I was just like, this guy, he's pulling major weight because, like you said, you just rattled off probably 12 titles, and you don't even seem like you're slowing down.
And those are just the ones I can remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, you don't even seem like you're slowing down. You're talking about doing Jawbreakers 2. You're talking about doing some Shinobi Sasquatch and some Shinobi Sasquatch Monster MD crossover, and those books aren't even completed yet. Downcast just shipped.
Right.
Flying Fortress is in fulfillment, and Earthworm Jim just shipped. So, I mean, you went from having one page where you were trying out for a lettering position for some obscure comic book on Facebook, and now you're a pivotal figure in the indie comics movement. I mean,
yeah, it's been an interesting year.
Well, you've definitely got my respect.
I actually,
That's how
I
it
did.
works, right?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Eric. He just said
Oh,
that.
okay. I
He's
think
gonna
there
say
might be a
that-
bit of a delay.
Oh. He's calling in from a rotary phone. So occasionally that backs up a little bit.
my tech sucks.
All right. Well, I'm not intentionally talking over anybody. I think.
Oh
there's a
no,
small delay here.
I encourage it because I just ramble. So our guests definitely take precedence.
Okay.
But one thing that I was really interested about, we have kind of a flagship comic that we talk about on this channel. It was kind of the comic that brought Ayrton and I together as host and co-host, and that is Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters, if you're familiar with that.
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
In the 90s, late 80s, 90s, there was a flood of parody comics of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters was one. The main creator was Don Chen and his co-creator / artist, Personovich. And Personovich was an artist, and he lettered the first 3.5 issues until breaking the fourth wall. They replaced him mid-issue with a new letterer because nobody could read what the hell he was writing.
Yeah, his handwriting is terrible.
That's something I pray never happens to me.
So
But that goes back. It's actually something we actually bring up a lot when we're reviewing various comics and whatnot. Is how overlooked actually the lettering is and how important it is to the actual storytelling to be able to have good lettering and good word bubble placement and all that stuff. And the fact that you're doing all this at such a high level of professionalism is pretty incredible.
Well, thanks. I agree that it's very important, and obviously, I mean, if I didn't agree, I wouldn't be doing this. But it's something that I think more indie creators need to think about. Is finding a letterer to because you can ruin an otherwise good book with bad lettering. It's unfortunate, but it's true. It's another part of the process that needs just as much thought and love and TLC or whatever put into it as the art or the writing do. And if you don't take it seriously, it shows. It just as any other part of the process. If you want to really try and make your book stand out, or just at least make it easier to read, then Getting somebody that knows what they're doing with word balloons and sound effects and captions and credits pages and all that design stuff. It's very important.
Now, as a letterer, you just kind of answered one of my questions. All the sound effects, like the kabooms and the snicks and all that, that's the letterer's job. That's not the artist's job.
Well, that depends on the artist. Some artists will draw the sound effects directly onto the page. Doug did that. Mitch Breitweiser does that. Donald DeLay does that. I think those are the three that stand out as far as who does those. But most scripts will have, sound effect, bang, bang, and then that's my job to put the bang, bang in there. So I do find it convenient and a bit refreshing when they're already drawn in. It's nice.
Yeah.
But, it 90% of the time it is left up to the letterer.
So it makes you feel like the special effects person for the old Adam West Batman series.
Exactly.
Like, bang,
Exactly.
pow,
Yep.
kablamo.
And the trick is you got to try and keep them fresh, and it can get a little redundant if there's a book with a lot of sound effects, because then I'm thinking like, okay, I got to make this one look different. I don't like to just copy paste them. I like to make each one on the page as I'm doing it, whether I'm just manipulating a font or if I'm hand drawing it in. Occasionally I'll, like, if it's a gun and it say this character uses this same gun every time, I will probably use the same sound effect because it's technically the same sound.
Okay.
But even then I'll probably like jumble the letters a little bit. So if it's like a blam blam, if you will, I'll make the cadence of those letters in the order they're in a little jittery from one day, so it doesn't just look like a copy paste all the way through. But then again, if I'm in a rush, maybe we'll get some copy paste in there.
Right. Well, as soon as you said that, I'm reminded of Tim Lim's Trump Space Force and MAGA, 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 MAGA. But
Yeah, you can have a lot of fun with those sound effects for sure. I personally like the ones that are more descriptive than sound effects, where it's like if a character's like poking somebody in the chest, the sound effect says poke, or if they're jumping, it just says jump.
Okay.
And things like that. I like those. Those are enjoyable.
So,
It's just nice and simple.
Yeah, exactly.
well, are you familiar with a title called Gone? The dinosaur comic with no word balloons whatsoever?
Say that again. Your mic went really quiet.
Oh, sorry. Are you familiar with the title called Gone? Gon. It was the secret character in Tekken 3. The little dinosaur.
No, I'm not.
There's a comic.
I'm familiar with Tekken. I'm not familiar with the comic.
Okay. Well, there's a little dinosaur, and he is a secret character in Tekken 3, but he actually comes from a manga style comic. Oh, and my 2-year-old just got loose. But he comes from a manga style comic, but the comic actually has no word balloons whatsoever.
Oh,
And
well, that's that's not my favorite kind of comic to work on.
it's not conventional, but it actually does work a lot with sound effects and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you haven't seen it, it might be something to check out and just kind of to look at and see. But it kind of strikes me in the fact that anytime he took a fall, there was always like the splat or blam sound effect or something like that. And when you talk about doing sound effects, those are some of the most important things in a book like that, because obviously there's no text bubbles or thought bubbles or anything like that. You're really relying on the art and those sound effects to tell the story.
Yeah, and the sound effects can really help deepen the storytelling within the comic as well. I mean, they sort of let you into the mind of the writer and artist as to what they're trying to convey of what this sound is like, especially if it's more of a maybe a unique sound. Like how do you convey the sound of a silenced pistol? How do you convey the sound of, and not just have it generic? That's the thing,
Right.
is trying to come up with something new. And most of the time they're written in, and that's fine. But sometimes they'll say, hey, if you want to add sound effects, go for it. And, that's where my infamous splort sound effect comes from in Jawbreaker's Lost Souls. The one that will I will forever be remembered for. But it's just one of those things that just helps. It's what am I trying to say? It's unique to comics, and it's just one of those things that is necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. The idea that sound effects and lettering can completely, I mean, they pretty much control the pacing of a story. You have the high pitched action sequences and whatnot, but if the word balloons aren't spaced properly and you've got 10 word balloons in a panel that's 3x4, then
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're not doing
Yeah,
something
all you
right.
writers out there,
Mark Wade.
all you writers out there with your verbose verbiage and heavy on the dialogue characters, don't put 9 panels on a page for your artist, kids, or your letter. You're gonna make enemies.
Yeah, that's actually more of a Bendis thing than a Wade thing, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Fair.
I don't think Wade has that many words, but that's just me.
Like a damn Shakespeare soliloquy on one panel.
But
Yeah, luckily I haven't. Luckily, the books I work on have been have been good in that regard. Is not too overbearing with the dialogue. I think actually there's a sequence in Flying Fortress that I'm looking at thinking I could cut this down. Like, it's too much. It's too much. And it was one of the it was one of those sections that you at the time you think this is good. It's backstory, and then you look at it now, you're like, wow, I could have done this very differently.
well, that's something that comes with.
Now, what is that?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, what is that like coming from kind of that broader creator perspective, going back through and like re-looking at that and going like, ooh, maybe I should have done that differently, but it's kind of too late. Like, what's kind of the mindset you have behind that?
Yeah, well, with Flying Fortress is interesting because it took us so long to do it. It was one of those. It was never like first priority in life. It was a, we put out 8 issues in just as many years almost. So it was definitely not a grind. I mean, it was a grind because when you do everything, it takes several months. As anybody that's backed a Indiegogo campaign or tried to make their own comic book, if you do everything, it takes a whole lot longer than a monthly schedule to get it done.
Oh yeah.
It's that whole process was very much wanting to start over every day. If when you get the book, anybody that's backed the book, when you get to chapter 5, you'll kind of notice a slight shift in how the story is told. There's a bit more. There's a whole up front. There's like a quick recap almost of what happened in the previous 4 chapters, and that was intentional at the time because it was sort of like not really a reboot, but sort of like a way to kind of start the book over without starting it over. There was always this part of me that wanted to, because I learned so much in creating that, in working on this story with my friends, and just over the years of drawing, redrawing, and having like portfolio reviews of my artwork that were pages from the book, and then going back and like changing those pages before they got put in the book. There's just so much of that I wanted to sort of take what I had learned and retell that story with, obviously I'm a better artist now than I was then, and all of that stuff. Ultimately, I think it's a nice time capsule, and it is it is in and of itself a journey artistically as well as it is story wise. So keeping it as is, I couldn't. One, I didn't want to do it and then have to redraw the whole thing because I kind of already done that, and I have the other books in my future that I want to actually get out the door. So spending another year or two on Flying Fortress, my wife probably would have killed me. But that struggle of wanting to change it was always there, and it was just because I had started from such an amateur point, and then just sort of building on that instead of starting over, and that was always a struggle. So when we came back to remastered. I could look back and think, I had these years of working through this at the same time wanting to start over. I have sort of an opportunity to start fresh, but I purposefully didn't take it because it is that journey and it is that story that Andy and I built together. So really all we did was, we call it remastered. Well, we have a new cover. We put all 8 chapters together for the first time. I updated all the lettering, which was quite a task because it's 200 pages, which is it's a beast. The print file that's going to the printer is 228 with all the extra stuff we have in the back. So there's a hefty section in the back full of
extra goodies,
character bios and sketches, pages that were cut from the book, all of that stuff. So when it came to the remaster, it was don't go too far. I wouldn't let myself George Lucas this thing. So
what you mean you didn't go in and add lightsabers and turn Jabba the Hutt into an actual monster? What is wrong with you?
Nope, none of that. We I flipped a panel and I updated a lady's face and maybe some other minor tweaks. It was very much like if it. The female character in the book, I was not good at drawing women at the time, but I did it anyways. And now that I can draw them, that was one thing I was willing to change. And then I think in all 200 pages, I had 2 panels that I had. One I had to mirror because the flow of the eye flow was just wrong because you had the planes flying from left to right, and then the next panel is in the cockpit, but he was facing the other direction, and in the next panel they were facing another 180 degrees. It was not good. So I fixed that.
Kind of jarring.
And then there was a storytelling beat that worked better if like panel 2 and 3 on a certain page were flipped. But other than that, I didn't change any of the coloring. I didn't change any of the overt. Like I said, it's 8 years. You see a journey of art. So I didn't go through and redraw the whole thing, thankfully, because if I did, I'd still be working on it.
Which is almost more interesting from like a fan reader perspective to kind of see that progression over all those years.
Yeah, well, in the back of the book, we have I think it's like 5 or 6 pages of story, but at the time it was an 8-page ash can with, there was some backup stuff in the back. That's in the back of the book, and that's the only thing that we kept as is. So you read chapters 1 through 8, that story ends. There's a small compendium in the back with like character bios telling you about the different planes and things like that. And then right after that, we go into the original ashcan that we printed at like Staples or Office Max, and then came home and folded and printed ourselves and sold at our very first convention, the issue 0 as it were. And so that is in its original form. We didn't update any of the artwork, any of the lettering, or anything like that. So you do get to see this full journey. And I honestly think it's, hopefully aspiring creators can look at it and think, well, this guy did it. Look at where he started. And then look at it, look at chapter 7, chapter 8. Like, there's growth. And hopefully, it'd be nice if that inspired somebody to say, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot.
one thing I was going to bring up is that if Flying Fortress is your introductory resume, and you're bringing fans on, I mean, fans can look at Flying Fortress and then go, wait, you mean he's even better than this now?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yes, I am.
That's something to stand on, because Flying Fortress isn't anything to shake a stick at. I mean, we're not talking about something that somebody would hand you.
You haven't seen the whole book yet, so.
Well, what I'm getting at is from what we've seen, from what you've advertised on the campaign. By the time, like Ayrton said, by the time you get to issue 7, issue 8, and you see the growth and the actual art style, and to think that you spent the last year lettering, and what you're going to turn out on your next project could potentially be even better than what we're getting in Flying Fortress. That's something to that's not anything to just what is it to scarf at, to
scoff.
Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah. Well,
Excuse me.
you.
I'm Southern. English is my second language.
Yeah, it's definitely I've got stuff coming that I can't wait for people to see, because I really do enjoy lettering, and I'm not just like, this isn't a stepping stool or stepping stone or whatever for me to get into the industry. I've been in this indie industry for since 2011. So whether it was Flying Fortress or other people's books, I've done my fair share of the indie comic scene, and I feel like comics not comics, but lettering is just the day job. It is the 9 to 5. It pays the bills. It takes care of the family, and then I get this sort of second job, if you will, that is working on these new stories with all these other fun creators. And the best part is I don't have to hire a letterer, so I already know a guy.
Well, just make sure
the
you don't
struggle
piss
for
him
me
off,
will be
right?
finding a colorer. What was that?
I said, just make sure you don't piss your letterer off, right?
Exactly.
I mean, if you send it to me in like a coloring book form with a box of crayons, I can color stuff.
We should make that a tier on the next campaign. Color your own comic.
Hey, don't laugh. I've bought a few comic books that I could color in. There's a reason I own 2 copies of 52.
Nice.
So, with everything you've talked about tonight, I mean, you've answered most of my questions with surprisingly astonishing detail.
I'm sorry. I'll try harder next time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely don't do as well next time. I mean, you're overperforming.
Okay.
It's above your pay grade. I don't know if anybody told you. I'm not paying you for this.
It's above our pay. It's above
most things are above my pay grade.
But if you could, through your history as a fan of comics, and being a fan of particular artists and chasing artist runs and things like that, like I remember chasing down my McFarlane Spider-Man run, and finding issue 1 and issue 13 were almost like pulling teeth out of my local comic shops. But
I'm kidding.
If you could go and go back in time as you are now and letter for any writer-artist combination on any title, what would that be? What would you
let me answer that. Let me answer that in a different way.
Okay.
I would have traded places with Tom Orzechowski because he did everything.
Oh, well, you're not wrong. But
that's who I would. Those are the shoes I would have wanted to fill.
Now, what are some titles that he is familiar with and famous for the viewing audience, and pretending like I know what I'm talking about?
Sure, Tom. Everybody knows his. 8 point, however many million people that bought X-Men #1. He did that X-Men run. He went to Image with everybody, so it was Wildcats and Spawn, and I mean he was just. He was one of those, they say the 7 of of
He-
the
he did
7 artists that went, but there was a whole cadre of, Art T. Bear went with him, Tom Warzakowski, and just everybody everybody had their inker and their letterer and all that. So,
Right. He
and
did like the
colorists
first
and all of
30
that. So,
or 40 issues of Spawn, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's even, he's still working today. You still see him around. But that, if I could go back and sort of run in that, play in that playground, as if you will, of my childhood, and those would be the shoes I wanted to fill.
That's a hell of an answer. Me personally, I fancy myself, if I was going to be anything in the comic industry, I'd be a writer, and I would just really, really love to trade places with Mark Waid and not put myself in all my stories. But maybe actually write.
I'd like to trade places.
Well,
with the
see,
guy
if you did that, then I may not have a job. So
Wait, how would not putting Mark Waid in all of his stories keep you out of a job? That's the story I want to hear.
Because here's the deal: I didn't know about Comicsgate until
The lawsuit.
until the book was canceled from Antarctic, and then that's when that was my jumping. My eyes were open to what was going on, and so I was like, well, this guy makes a whole lot of sense. I think I'll watch his videos, and that led me to Ethan and following, Ethan, him, John on Twitter, and
Hail Caesar.
the job on Graveyard Shift. Those I had done just a handful of pages, and those pages I sent to Richard. I said, "Hey, I'm lettering Graveyard Shift. I'd love to letter Jawbreakers. Here's my sample."
Now don't hold me to it, but I do have my host hat on. I gotta ask. I do remember there being another story where Mr. Zach had attempted to letter Jawbreakers himself.
Yeah.
And it was not great. And
that's
you politely
exactly
explained.
Yeah, so he had posted on Twitter. That was the email that I sent him. He'd posted on Twitter a picture of page 1 of Jawbreakers, and he said, starting to letter Jawbreakers, and he got roasted on his lettering. And I saw that, and I was like, because I had just got hired by John, and I was doing all these pages. I was like, I can do this. So I just straight up emailed him. I was like, where's his email again? I went into YouTube and went into About, and I saw his email address and shot him an email. And I said, I made the subject of the email was "Make lettering great again." I wanted to try and find something that would grab his attention. And I said, "Hey, I saw your samples.
Everything's awesome except your
bad
letters.
Lettering can kill an otherwise great book. Here's, I'm doing Jawbreak, I'm doing a Graveyard Shift, working with John. Here are some pages. I'd love to work for you." And we talked back, and there were, probably a dozen back and forth emails, but essentially I was, for all intents and purposes, I think I was hired that day.
Yeah.
So
I would not doubt that one little bit. I think that's really the story I wanted to get out of you. I don't want to keep you past your due. You've more than accommodated us for what you offered. You're more than welcome to hang around. Ayrton, do you have any questions for our guest?
I think I asked about all of them.
Well, I greatly appreciate it, Mr. Weathers. You've been fantastic, and I've talked about lettering a few times on the show, and in doing that, I think I had an out of body experience, and ask Ayrton here if we should reach out to a letterer to come talk to us about the importance of lettering. And while we may not have gotten into the psychology of lettering and the spacing and everything now.
Mm-hmm.
I do actually have one other question. As a graphic designer, I design T-shirts and things like that for a living. Do you use a specific custom font set, or do you hand letter things, or do you design your own fonts, or how does that work in the modern age? I remember back in the day, obviously, guys literally had to go in and have small script writing.
Yeah.
But now it's the digital age, so how do you approach that?
Yeah, these days I use digital fonts. I do not make my own yet. When time allows, I will. I do want to make my own fonts and make that a uh, something that I pursue more. Um, I use Adobe Illustrator almost exclusively. However, I'm looking at different. I'm always looking at different programs, seeing what they might be able to
Mainly,
provide. I know that Clip Studio Paint has a lettering function within it. I
Procreate
used it.
actually has one now. Your
Procreate does. I'll have to check
yeah,
that out because I
yeah,
work on an iPad as well.
right. That's what I use
Is that
for
with
a
the new
lot.
update?
Yeah, yeah, that was with the 13 or 11.4 update, I believe, or 12.4, something like that. One of the most recent ones.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's not
I'll
just
have to add that to my list for sure.
it's not just the font set for anybody at home. It's not just like a font set or anything like that. Like obviously you have to pay attention to spacing, you have to pay attention to kerning, you have to pay attention to
Mm-hmm.
your letter and your condensed and your italicized, and make sure your emphasis is there, and to judge when a letter or a word needs to be bolded or something like that. But
Yeah, absolutely. And
it's go ahead.
there are a lot of great resources out there for anybody wanting to try it on their own, or letter your own book, or if there's some you know I don't want to say wannabe, but somebody who's aspiring to be a letterer themselves. I mean, you can go to places like blambot.com, and they have a ton of free resources, both free fonts, and they have a section on like lettering etiquette, lettering rules and guidelines. It's a wealth of knowledge, that site in particular. Um, I said earlier that I do want to start making my own, um, and that's back in the day when everything was hand lettered. These letters had their own. You know, you could tell who was who. You could say, "Oh,
Right.
this is a Todd Klein. This is a Tom Orzechowski." And people do still hand letter these days, but for speed and efficiency, most of it's done digitally. And when you have the Comicraft, these guys. I mean, Richard Starking's been around for decades, and they started selling comic book fonts. Oh, I don't know how many years ago, but he and Nate Picos from Blambot sell fonts, and if you're using their fonts, they're great fonts, but you're also it's almost like they're the ones lettering it because they're their fonts.
Right.
So that's at some point I need to cross that threshold where it's like, no, I'm lettering the book because it's my font. Like it becomes more my project that way, or at least my voice, and I'll get there. It's been a very busy year. I think I'm at, unless I'm missing some, I tried to keep track of everything I lettered, whether it was books that were that either haven't come out yet, or I've only done a couple of pages of, or whatever. I think my count from January 1 to what will be the end of the year, I still have a couple more that I'm trying to knock out before Christmas. It will be 45 books that I did this year.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which let's just put that into perspective for everyone in the viewing audience. Usually, most professional comic creators are maybe, if they're huge, are responsible for 3 books a month.
Yeah.
Eric, by those numbers, is responsible for 3.7 books per month.
Jeez, got the calculator out, or is that just out of your head?
I do math. I'm
There we go.
a graphic designer. I have to do fractions. Don't judge me. But no, he's doing about one more book per month than a professional at Marvel and DC can accomplish, and that's just in 2019 after sending in one sample page to a random Facebook ad.
Yeah.
That is probably the most inspiring story we've ever had on this particular channel.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're a small channel, but we've had creators from the 80s on here. We've yelled at people like Rob Liefeld. We've had Ethan Van Sciver in our chat. We've had some pretty big names on here, and you are one of the top names I wanted to get on this year because of everything you've been doing and as much as I've seen you around.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
We appreciate you being on here, big guy.
Yes.
Yeah. And we definitely look forward to seeing your work in 2020. So, I mean,
I can't wait for everybody to see what we got cooking.
Like I said, tune in sometime either this week or next for when the unboxing of Earthworm Jim happens, because
yeah.
And it sounds like you're not going to sleep at all during 2020.
No, I barely slept in 2019, so why change? I say.
Sleep is for the
Seems
week.
to be working out. Exactly.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
Speaking of sleep, though, we've held you way past the time that you allotted for us, and I definitely appreciate it, sir.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for coming, and until next time, anytime you're more than welcome back here. If you have a new project you'd like to come on and talk about, if you have a new project you want to shoot me a DM about, and I'll just cover it on the channel. You don't have to get out of bed.
Oh well, let me just plug one thing real quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, show what.
If people want to see what I've got cooking up next, it's on Indiegogo right now in the what do you call it? The pre-launch phase. I don't have a set date as far as when it's going to launch, but it's Operation Zephyr. That's title's still a work in progress. It's a little clunky, but it's sort of what we've been calling it for a year now. But it is a future dystopian military retelling of the Wizard of Oz. We've got
I actually remember
Dorothy
hearing about this.
Yeah, I actually was primed and ready to start it right before Flying Fortress. Right before I decided to do Flying Fortress first. Flying Fortress was sort of an audience builder for Oz and for future projects that I'm working on. Is definitely a way to get my name out there. Other people say you got to have the big YouTube channel and the big social media or whatever, and I thought, well, I'm on all these books. I have this book that's basically done. I just need to fix a few things and re-letter it. So that's what Flying Fortress was a sort of way to reach a wider audience that I could then say, oh, by the way, here's the new thing that's, I feel, much better artwork-wise, story-wise, whatever. So we're doing that. I'm doing that with my buddy Zeb Hatfield. So you'll be seeing his writings, hopefully later this year. We're going to launch in late winter, early spring. That's the plan. I'm currently doing the artwork, but check out Operation Zephyr on Indiegogo. That's ZEPHYR.
And they can find that at operationzephyr.com/sign-up to sign up for a secret perk when the campaign goes live, correct?
That is absolutely correct. Yeah, if you sign up early, you're going to have an early bird discount, some sort of secret perk. We'll figure out what that is at some other point in the future, but yeah, definitely sign up. It with Flying Fortress, the people that signed up got the $75 tier for $35. So we like to have a good deal for our early bird signups.
Well, I just threw that in the chat. Absolutely send that around. It's also in the description down below this video, along with Eric's Twitter account at Eric_Weathers on Twitter. Follow him for some hot bants. And he likes to retweet when Von Klaus gets into it with idiots on Twitter.
Yep, that's true. He says everything I'm not quick enough to think of myself.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But absolutely, check out everything he's doing. And will there be an opportunity for people who didn't back Flying Fortress on the first go-round to get a copy of it later on down the road?
Yes, there will be. So I had 660 backers, but I'm printing 1,000 books.
So you were missing 6 backers.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to have about 400, 300 or 400, depending. I mean, some of the backers are digital and some were print only. prints only. So I'm going to have about 400 books left over, and I'm thinking about honestly just reopening the campaign as an in-demand store, tweaking it a little bit perk-wise, but having that as a way that people can just go and get the book and basically have it ordered and shipped, the same week if possible. So that's the plan right now. I know that Pete Samedi is doing that alternate distribution, and I'm going to talk to him and see if he wants to, maybe get a handful of books from me, and that we could see what happens with that.
Well,
but yeah, we're going to definitely have the in-demand store open again later once I fulfill the main campaign.
Our guest did the alternate show for us this episode. Fantastic.
That's a perfect segue into what we're going to talk about as soon as he departs. But what I was going to say is, DM me your PayPal info and set one of those books aside for me before you do anything with them. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. Same here.
I can do that.
We back digitally, but after seeing everything and after talking to you, I'm going to need one, and I'm going to need you to give you some more of my money. So.
I will gladly accept it.
So, yeah. But anyway,
right.
Operation Zephyr down in the description below and in the chat. Eric Weathers' take on The Wizard of Oz. Look forward to Flying Fortress relaunching later in the future, and make sure you check the credits of every Comicsgate and indie comic book you pick up, because he probably lettered it.
Probably so. All right, thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much.
Evening.
All right. Bye.
Good night. Well, that was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, that was great.
So now you understand why I wanted to have that guy on, right?
Oh yeah, I was excited for it when you said that was scheduled for today.
Well, I didn't know it was scheduled for today until today, but I made time.
Yeah, well,
you make time for Eric Weathers,
right? Of course.
But
so we're gonna do a quick instrumental interlude, switch Discord, and pick up with Eudaimonia.
I think we can. I think we can do that.
All right.
Yeah, let me.
Gives me time to grab another can.
There you go. All right. Well, I'm gonna go on mute. You drop the Skype call, and we will regroup back in Discord.
All right.
All right. I am here. I don't know if Eric is. Probably not. He's always late and gay. But anyway, oh, fantastic. I like the fact that you have a name that doesn't actually reflect your status, because you were late and gay coming into the Discord.
Hey, in my defense, I did say I needed to grab another can.
But not my problem. Anyway, no, I really enjoyed having Eric on. Like I said, probably one of the hardest working guys in Comicsgate this year. Everybody's talking about how man, we got 2 books out this year. This motherfucker puts out 45. You feel me?
He makes. I got my second studio gig last week, and he makes me go like, "Damn, I should have more than this by now."
No shit. Like, I have 5 freelance customers right now, and this guy's like, well, I just put you to shame by like 8, so it's all good.
Time to start that networking, motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I play at a bar once a week and just now have my second studio gig. This dude's over here lettering 45 comics this year.
Well, now that you have your second studio gig, that means you can actually get our theme song put together, right?
Hopefully.
Hmm.
And this one's, I think, is going to be like a real studio, not like a basement studio like the last one. It's going to be weird.
Wait, you mean you don't have to put the lotion on the skin before you get to record?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, my skin was like immaculate after that, but it was a little weird.
Well, So, you being the musician,
Yes.
first off, as far as the artwork goes, as far as the concept goes, if you didn't back Eudaimonia, you made a mistake. Just hands down, you made a mistake not backing this book.
Yeah. This was.
If I had 10,000 copies of this book, I would wallpaper my house in it, inside and out. It's that gorgeous. The colors alone, even if the art wasn't fantastic, even if the storytelling wasn't unique, or just captivating, the artwork and the colors alone sell the book for me.
Oh, yeah.
I actually skipped a segment. Our guest led us into a perfect segue, and I fucked it up. I said I was going to do something every show until it's over with, and I'm going to do that. So here
Should I
we
be
go.
scared?
You should. We have 12 days of alternative to look at,
Oh, yeah.
and there are only 5 days left.
Already? Holy fuck!
Well, it's only 12 days, Ayrton. Jesus Christ!
I know, but didn't we just talk about this like 2 days ago?
And there were 7 days left then.
Where the hell is this year going?
Down the hole. Typically with the
Apparently.
American spirit.
Well,
MAGA,
of
MAGA,
course.
MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. But 12 days of Alterna. The opportunity to give to 2 charities, not just one, but Portion for Orphans and Toys for Tots. Once this campaign reaches 100 backers, which it is 9 backers away from, Ayrton, 9 backers.
Shit.
We are 9 backers away from the chair Blu-ray and DVD combo pack being unlocked.
All right.
They are a mere $324 away from the mystery trading card being unlocked. Now, I don't know
Nice.
if anybody in this chat has or has not donated or shared to this cause yet, but I implore you, even if you have to cancel your Patreon to the Gospel of Comics for this month, I implore you to consider donating to the 12 Days of Alterna. If you cannot donate, or you don't want to cancel your donation to the Gospel of Comics this month, which, again, we always appreciate every little bit, share the campaign to your friends, on your Facebooks, on your Twitters, on your Snapchat. Take a penis picture and send it with the link to that girl you really, really like down at the diner.
Hey, that's not a bad idea.
I figured that one would get you.
Yeah, I dig that.
But,
Watch out, ladies.
Alterna's coming your way. I don't think Peter Samedi would agree with this. Should I apologize?
You probably should.
I'm sorry, Pete. But with a name like Peter, you got to think some penis jokes are going to be made. But 12 Days of Alterna, there are several tiers where you can either purchase some all ages stocking stuffers for your nieces and nephews, your sons and daughters, your godsons and daughters, your grandchildren, your neighbors' kids, those little bastards that come into your workplace and destroy all your magazines, whoever you want to have some suitable.
How dare you!
Have some suitable reading material. There is the 5 comic plus a mystery trade paperback, or
And who doesn't like a good mystery?
you can order a specific trade paperback that you might be interested in. Get into the comic book medium and get a mystery trade paperback on top of that. Maybe read something you weren't sure you wanted to read. Maybe grab something for free that's a gift to a friend of yours. Maybe donate it to your local Toys for Tots as a trade paperback.
I would suggest Unit 44.
Unit 44 is a fantastic book. And I'll even go so far as to say, if you guys donate to the 12 Days of Alterna and you get your mystery Alterna trade, I will match you and order one myself in the next 5 days. I will order a copy myself, and we will have you on,
shit.
and we will review the trade you receive. I donate to my local firefighters, our local Tour de Rock, which is a charity for kids with cancer. Fantastic, as long as it's not the St. Jude's, who apparently can't take our quote-unquote money because the Wall Street Journal kills kids. By the way, has Yuriko unprotected her Twitter?
Oh. I have no idea. What was the handle? Let me go see.
It was Yuriko.
Because I seem to be unblocked by everybody until I go and look them up on this show.
SJW kills kids. Well, they do, but that's different. Let's see. Hashtag.
Let's see. What was it? Was it Y?
It was Yuriko. Yeah, it was Yuriko. Mark Dice, Wall Street Journal, Jared Holt. Yeah. I'm trying to find the original article. Oh, there we go. There's Yuriko. Holy shit! Somebody tagged Donald Trump. Ah, there we go. YORE. No, her Twitter's unprotected now. Oh wow.
YOREEKOH.
Now I'm sharing this in the chat.
Oh shit!
I'm sharing this in the chat to make sure that no one actually bothers this nice young lady. She totally did not rob $27,000 from children with cancer last year.
Of course not. Not at all. Never.
So
why not? If the shit fits, where?
If anybody has any, legitimate criticism of this young lady, I feel strongly compelled to ask you to use your First Amendment to share your feelings with this person, but not in a harassing type of way. Please,
of course not.
Please be civil. Be the better person. And absolutely do not harass Yuriko for writing a hit piece on the Ralph Retort for drawing $27,000 for children with cancer last year and having it refunded.
And one of the probably the greatest live streams in live stream history.
Well, I mean, do you truly believe there were roller coasters? That's almost like thinking 6 million cookies could be baked in 5 years, right?
Right. Wait a minute, Matt. No.
Matt, no! Where the fuck is Carl, V?
Well, listen here, mate.
I don't know. He's in London. He can't come on. Where
In
the
Romania.
fuck is Carl, V?
In Romania, all that money would feed entire village, mate.
Well, he's supposedly a doctor, right? Anyway,
Supposedly.
uh,
He's an amateur proctologist.
12 days of Alterna, help out to fantastic causes. If nothing else, get the all ages tier and drop it off in a stocking for some kid who's in the hospital this holiday season. Whatever you have to do, but it's for a great cause. Check it out. Share it if you don't want to back it. If you do want to back it, send me notification on what you backed in the next 5 days. I'll I'll match you, bro. And you can come on and we can review whatever comic you want to pull in, and we can compare what we got as our mystery trade. But,
there you go.
But that might even be what our drunk stream is this holiday season, because unlike most indie campaigns, Pete is peddling wares that are already printed, already ready to go. Once the campaign is over, he will probably very quickly ship out everything. We had our Alternaween comics probably a week and a half before Halloween came.
Yeah, it was crazy fast.
So, but anyway, with that, Eudaimonia.
Sorry, I was laughing at what Matt just posted in Kitties.
I saw that.
Anyways, Eudaimonia.
Hey, Tone, why do they keep changing the sign?
See ya, Captain.
Have a good one, Captain. Thanks for stopping by, buddy.
If she was the last woman on Earth, I'd demand a recount.
I might transition. Yeah. And you've seen my beard in real life.
It is an impressive beard.
It is. It's humongous. It takes up most of the camera.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I only could see the beard. Like, there was no other face, just beard.
No, right. Yeah. I just put the glasses in the beard, and somehow I see.
Fucking cousin it over here.
Still more entertaining than you are.
Hey, now.
Well, I mean, I can run the OBS.
I make a wonderful whipping.
I mean, you do. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't trade you for the world. I actually was upset that I didn't bring that up during the conversation with Eric, because his whole foray into lettering is a lot like my foray into having a co-host.
You mean my foray into being the co-host?
Basically. Hey, you need a letterer. Your lettering sucks. Hey, I need a co-host. Without one, my show sucks. Anyway, we've only got a little bit of time left. Eudaimonia. Yeah. You finished this a little bit earlier than I did, and because of the way it's written, in the lyrical sense, I figured I would let you take point on this one.
Yeah, it's hard to know where to start with it.
Well, considering the story starts halfway through the book. But
yeah, it's basically
the first thing I do want to say is that this is one of the first indie comics books that I picked up this year that demands a second read through. I read through it once before the show, thinking, okay, it's a comic book. It's only 40 something pages. And reading through it once, I understand everything that happened. I read all the words. I understood and comprehended them. However, the way it's written demands that I read it again.
Oh, most definitely. I was so engrossed in the lyrical verse for everything. I probably missed 60% of the artwork just because I was so engrossed in just the writing of it.
Well, this is the first edition. It's got a wraparound cover. The digital came out a little sooner than the physical. You can follow the ongoing cycle of the print saga on Eudaimonia is fulfilling or is completed or funded on Twitter. I'll throw that in the chat. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Anyway, talk about the book while I find this.
Yeah. So it's the story of a young boy who lied about his age to be able to fight in World War I. He was only 15 during the war, and it kind of recounts sort of what happened, things he went through, and kind of how it affected him later in life.
Well,
It is the general
story,
sort of story.
That's the story of the boogeyman of the main story.
Right. Which it's so weird. I don't want to give really much away to it because it's just such a good book.
Not yet, but I do want to say it's a World War I story, and the main part of the story seems like it takes place about 10 to 20 years after World War I finishes. Maybe even right before the dawn of World War II.
Yeah.
But there is a prose lyrical style to the book, and everything's got like a poetic rhyme scheme to it. It's something that you just don't see regularly.
Yeah, now one because we just had Eric Weathers on. One slight complaint is the text box don't always perfectly line up rhythmically.
No,
as
they
you're reading
absolutely
it.
don't. And sometimes it's a little bit hard to figure out whether you're supposed to go top to bottom, left to right, or left to right, top to bottom.
Right. Like I had to go back and read a couple of them to kind of get the rhythm back in my head to read it. It didn't pull me out of it at all, but it was a little bit kind of like, okay, if they would have like moved this line over here and moved this one over here, it would have flowed a little bit better. But
right.
That doesn't take away from I would say really the artistry of this book.
I'd say the coloring of this book is the all-star.
Yeah. the coloring was awesome.
I mean,
but like the overall kind of artistry of it.
Well, the art itself, the art style itself, not that I dislike it. I love the art in this book. But if it was any other art, if the coloring was the same, I don't think the story would have been hindered.
That's fair. Like I said, I think I missed probably a good majority of like the detail in the artwork because I was so focused on the rhyming, rhythmic sort of storytelling. And it kind of reminded me, kind of reading through it, of in my head, because when I'm reading something like this, like my brain starts putting like music to it, and like it had a very like the Who's Tommy or like Pink Floyd's The Wall, like one of these big kind of like those old rock and roll operas from like the 70s.
I
That's
honestly,
kind of the,
I read it to the tune of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
okay.
I'm actually gonna bring that up because that song has a little bit of what is
Yeah,
it?
I kind of read it to kind of like the beginning of Tommy. The song like 1921 or What About the Boy, like those first couple introductory songs for Tommy was kind of what I read it to. But
Here we go. I found a karaoke lyrics version, so I'm gonna
probably
send
the safest way to go.
I'm gonna send this to you in Discord. Actually, I'm just gonna put it in live show chat so you can pull it up there. Let me know when you got it queued up, and we'll play like a minute or two of it, and then we'll get back to it.
All right, let me get back to 0.
All right.
All right, I'm good.
3, 2, 1, go. Alright, that should be enough. But that's what I read this book to in my head.
Yeah, I could definitely see that kind of the beats of the rhymes kind of match up pretty good with that.
Yeah. Just a little inside baseball. That's the song that I associate with my grandfather, who tragically passed away a few years ago. But that's that one's always stuck with me. And as soon as I read this book and saw the rhyme scheme of it, that's all I could think about was that music. And every time I read two boxes in this book, because I don't want to spoil it, but let me find a couple of decent pages to pull up here. You have the same you have the same digital copy I do.
Yeah. I think the Indiegogo previews were like the first couple pages with the man in white coming into the barn.
Well, into the bar.
Yeah. at the beginning of the story, that the guy all dressed in
The
white.
traveler strode through biting harvest air and entered the desolate blue-collared bar.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get that one pulled up. But
Yeah, those pages were on the Indiegogo, and we showed those when we first covered the campaign, however long ago
but when you want to see
it
why
was at this point.
when you want to see why I say the colorist deserves a lot of the credit for this book, whether it was the artist that did the coloring or not, the void spaces where the seemingly devil character of the book is supposedly speaking, you can see that his silhouette is negative space in the panel.
Yeah.
But just look at the color progression, like from darks to lights in 2 pages, from dark navy blue to white at the end of the second page.
It was just so captivating.
Yeah.
Like the entire, like it's almost like it was almost like an experience. Like I said, the overall artistry of it, not just like the coloring or the actual art, but like the whole package, the combination of all of that mixed with the lyrical verse writing is just, it's something to behold. The way it all kind of like puzzles together.
Well, have you read a lot of like classic poetry and literature?
Oh yeah, long time ago, back in high school, and like drama classes and literature classes and stuff like that.
Like the Iliad, the Odyssey, Beowulf, and all that shit, epic poems and shit.
Yeah.
This book is a 44-page just deep dive into that version of storytelling in comic book format.
Yeah.
If the Iliad were written like this, you couldn't stop kids in school from reading it.
Oh no, not at all.
Like
Yeah,
you would not be able to keep a copy in a library.
no. We actually in high school for a school project did a. You were supposed to do like a quick like video recap of the Iliad and Odyssey, so we did it like a news show, like a Monty Python type like news show.
Yeah.
So it started with like somebody at a desk in a suit, saying, whatever, and like now to the weather, and from the Straits of Gibraltar we have sirens coming from the east, and that kind of like stupid shit.
I did something very similar, but in a paper type format. I explained that the story of the Odyssey was basically Batman's origin story, like Batman Year One.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, Bruce
I'm up to. Yeah.
Bruce Wayne and Odysseus are really not different at all.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it,
I mean, you got to think about the fact that you got 80 years of Batman stories. You can pretty much line up an allegory to Odysseus and Batman at every fucking turn.
and then some.
Oh yeah, but we'll do a more in-depth dive into Eudaimonia in a couple of weeks once everybody's gotten their copy and had a chance to read it. I'm not going to spoil it. I want everyone to know what they missed out on if they didn't put money towards this book, and I am reaching out to the creator. I'd love to have him back on so that we can ask him the same question we asked Eric, as in, when can you get this again? Because if you didn't get it already, you done fucked up.
Yeah.
But having the digital ship out as early as it did. Plus, I need to read this like 3 more times before I feel like I'm qualified to discuss it.
Yeah, there's just
I may
so
even
much
need
in
to
it.
take notes. In 44 pages, there are 3 ongoing stories and 3 main characters, and one of the main characters is an angry mob. But
I really really like the end bit, the Harlem story.
yeah,
That was really cool.
oh, absolutely.
It kind of shifted rhythm a little bit there as well. If I don't know if you noticed that, like the
Oh,
beats
yeah.
of the rhymes shifted a bit.
Well,
At that part.
they got more consistent. I feel like
Yeah.
instead of every 4 lines rhyming with a minor rhyme every 6, it started to rhyme more cohesively every 2 lines.
Yeah, it was definitely more. It was more folky. Like if you think of like old folk songs,
Are you being
I
racist?
guess no. I was gonna bring up House of the Rising Sun. It was.
Should we
It was
play
more
that
that kind of.
since we're already in danger of being copywritten? Should we play that?
Well, that's public domain, that song. So you could just pull up
Is
a
it?
version of it and just play that one. Yeah,
By the Animals?
yeah. It's not by the Animals. That's an old folk song from like the 40s.
But I can play the Animals version.
I believe you can. No one. I don't think anyone actually owns the rights to it.
Well, Five Finger Death Punch did it.
Yeah, which their version's pretty. Not a huge fan of them, but
Who, the Animals or Five
that
Finger
cover
Death Punch?
Five Finger Death Punch.
Oh yeah,
I
no,
like some of their songs.
I'm playing the Animals version. So
Yeah, but like Bob Dylan's done it. I think Johnny Cash has done it.
I'll put it. I'll put it in the live show chat. Here we go.
All right.
Let me know when you got it queued up.
And there's an ad. All right, hold on.
You got to download Brave on that bitch.
Can
Brave.
you do that on an iPad?
Fuck yeah, I have Brave on my iPad.
Oh.
I have Brave and
I
DuckDuckGo
didn't know
on
you
my
could do
iPad.
All right, got it ready.
All right. 3, 2, All right, I think 2 minutes of that's enough. If we keep going, copyright and whatnot. somebody'll try and claim us.
Well, of course.
But
I mean, that's going to be our new thing, right? Try and get copyright claimed.
I mean, by Rob Liefeld. I still want him to draw my fucking feet pictures.
Yeah, come on, Liefeld.
Actually,
goddamn feet.
Actually, what I want him to do is I want to commission him to draw my feet. Like, I want to take a picture of my feet and send them to him and make him draw my feet.
That would be fantastic.
But he's such a bitch that he won't unblock me on Twitter long enough to take my fucking money in this capitalist society, which must make him a goddamn communist. And I hate fucking commies.
Yeah, god damn it. Fucking Liefeld. Where's the goddamn feet?
There's my goddamn feet pictures, Rob.
I'm gonna make that a hashtag. Hashtag where are my feet?
Where are the feet, Rob? Where the feet, Rob? Question mark.
Alright, let's see here.
You don't have to make a hashtag.
Hashtag where the feet.
Alright, tag me in the tweet. I'll spread it around. Where the feet at, Rob?
Let's see. Should I tag anybody else in this? Or just you and Rob?
Me, Rob, Comic Book Hut, Matt Jarbo. I'm trying to think of any other friends of the show. Mark Wade. Mark Zaid.
See, Matt.
M. Jarbo. Mark Wade.
Mark Wade.
Mark Zaid. T. Greg Doucette, because, he's a giant bald cuck. Hey,
Wait,
Dan Gams is in here.
What's Mark Zaid's Twitter?
Mark S. Zaid. It's at Mark S. Zaid Esquire. He's a pretentious bitch.
Is. That's right. I found it. All right.
Look at that. Look at that pedophile motherfucker.
Who else was I going to tag?
He looks
Clinton,
like...
maybe?
I mean, unless you want to... Yeah, if you want to suicide by 2 gunshots to the back of the head, be my guest. Maybe Kamala Harris. She needs to be cheered up after she got fucking knocked. After Tulsi Gabbard just fucking murked the shit out of her. And tag Donald Trump too. Why not? Hey, Philadelphia won.
At Donald Trump. All right.
That should
So
be
I got
good.
All right. Tweet that out.
That should be good. Let me pull up Twitter. Oh, I gotta tag at Bibble. Yeah, the co-host of the Ralph Retort Bibble. I gotta tag him in the hashtag where the feet. Oh shit! Apparently this was a hashtag in 2015. Mean Clean Machine hashtag where the feet.
and a picture of a Yukon.
Man, well,
the fuck,
you know.
Alright then.
There we go. Yeah. Hey, you didn't tag the comic book hut. That's because he blocked both of us. Never mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm blocked by him. I can't tag him in it.
Can we get the
Somebody-
president and Novel Bro in together? Look, if I can get Donald Trump and Novel Bro in a room together, I would be a much richer man than I am now.
I mean, the world would probably explode.
No. Novel Bro would just be the new, executive vice president. Well, you misspelled Novel Bro, Dan. But what can I expect from Michigan education?
Yeah.
Check the Discord. He's also in Scotland, which is like 5 hours off from us. So, the motherfucker might be asleep. No matter which way you go, 5 hours one way or the other, the nigga might be asleep. That was a soft A. YouTube. It was a soft A.
Yeah, that time crossover, you have a narrow gap.
Unlike the bitch I took to prom.
She didn't have a narrow gap. That's unfortunate for you.
Nah, man. It's cool. I didn't end up in a hotel room with her.
Regina was like,
a hot dog down an airplane hangar. It's like riding a bicycle into the ocean. What the fuck even is this show anymore?
Bicycle Ocean, tying it back around. That could be the good name for a heavy metal band.
I don't disagree with you. He brought a 2x4 for safety. Well, it does look like Nicky Rackets is getting ready to stream, so.
Oh shit, he's gonna be out in time? What the fuck?
That's what it says on his YouTube channel, so I expect him to be about 5 minutes late.
Alright, fair enough.
That means we got about, 5 minutes to close the show up with?
Yeah. Yeah, about.
I'll give it up to the chat. What should we close the show up with? Because if you guys don't pick, I'm gonna put the Rising Sun Sons of Anarchy version on for the last 4 minutes of the show up.
I mean, that makes our job easy.
Actually, you know what? No. If they don't pick, I'm gonna put some Mercules on.
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.
China number 4, Taiwan, Hong Kong number 1. Hong Kong number 1, China number 4, America number 3.
Doing that hot dog in a hallway sound effect, because it's dry up here, there's a slight split in my lip. That hurt.
That's what you get, bitch. Let's see here.
Well, Dan wants Sigourney Weaver Bush.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
Matt's going back into outer space. I hopped on when he was streaming that game. I'm not convinced that's a game. I'm skeptical that he wasn't actually in space flying a ship around.
He actually is in space flying a ship around when he does that. Don't let him fool you.
All right.
Let's see here.
Look cool as shit. Like if I had an actual computer that could process that and was more into video games, I'd be so down with that.
Well, we've all heard the Sucker for Pain song from Suicide Squad, right? So I'll put that in the show chat.
All right.
Pull that up and get that queued up.
It's probably gonna be a goddamn ad.
No, not on this video.
Oh, wow. There's not. Holy shit.
Well, Mercules isn't really, advertiser friendly.
Yeah.
But with this, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the epic interview with Eric Weathers. Thank you for talking about Eudaimonia with us. Join us again in about 2 weeks where we do our in-depth review of Eudaimonia once everybody who's read it. The fuck are you talking about? We don't know Juice World.
The fuck?
Look, it's not a boomer thing to not know Juice World, okay? If you don't know
Is that
Mercules, if you don't know Mercules, you're kind of a boomer. But anyway, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
In 3, 2, 1. Well, actually, before we start, let's go ahead and do the outro. I thank everybody for
Jesus.
stopping by.
I was all muted, ready to hit play.
If you haven't already, please be sure to like, subscribe, share the stream, share the channel, get your friends involved. Check out our Patreon down at the bottom, all that good shit. Check out Alterna, 12 Days of Alterna. Check out Eric Weathers, Operation Zephyr.